So here's a Firgelli linear actuator that I just tore apart. Um, I couldn't find much information on these when I was buying them, see if they were good or not. I didn't see any awful reviews, but then again, there weren't really any reviews. So I'd figure I'd show you what it looks like inside. This is their premium 24-inch travel, 400-pound linear actuator with an IP66 rating. Um, The motor on it seems okay. The windings don't have any like sealant on them. They did put like a little bit of putty on there to hold the windings in place. There's no balancing marks on it. The brushes look pretty small, but I don't know. You probably won't have a problem with them. I don't think you'll be running it. Or this is designed to run that much for the brushes really to wear out. Good seal bearing on the other end of the motor. It goes into into this gear, which translates to another gear. It does have all powdered metal gears in it, which is better than I was expecting. I expected them all just to be nylon. Into another gear. Oh, I got crap over this one. Into the final gear on the shaft. So what is that? One, two. Well, 4 times gear reduction. So I mean, it is geared super low, and the gears do seem decent. They're not total junk, so I don't think you'll strip those out. The rod that spins to lift the actuator out, it's in there with it's a skateboard bearing, which is pretty good. And then in the other side of the case, there's a bronze brass bushing that it sits in. And then you have a huge threaded rod here. It's not huge, but big threaded rod. Appears to just be mild steel. I don't know if it's been hardened or not. I don't know. You can scratch it pretty easily, so I imagine that it's not hardened, not treated. It then goes into this plastic nylon nut here. It doesn't seem that strong. There may be an actual nut inside of there, which I would hope. I feel like if you overloaded this actuator enough times, this would be your failure point, was this nylon nut, because this rod spins, as you can see, and then it'll either lower or raise this aluminum shaft, and yeah, it appears that all it's threaded on is this nylon nut, which is good. I mean, it provides a really tight fitment, interference fit on the thread, so you're not going to get much play in it, but I do think that if you overloaded it, that would strip out. And then for the limit switch here, there's just 2 little switches that when they get compressed stops the flow of current. They seem fine. It is set at 24 inches. That's why I tore this thing apart, was to see if I can adjust the limit switches, because that full extension, it does seem pretty floppy, especially if you have any type of axial load on there. So I was trying to lower the top limit switch down about 3.5 inches, just so that it'd be a little bit more rigid at full extension. And it looks like you could just unsolder this diode and the 2 wires and then move it down. I assume it's a flyback diode in there for the switch. Maybe, actually, I don't know. Wait, no, would you need a flyback diode for this? I don't know. There's a diode in there. Diode on that side too. One thing that I did not like at all was, if you look at this red wire here, that goes up to the limit switches, it was going right over the top of the gear. And you can already, I don't know if you can see in the video. Come on. Okay. You can already see where it started to wear through a little bit of the wire. I've probably ran this about 20 times now. And yeah, it started to wear through the wire. It just wasn't set far enough away from the gear. So, good thing I opened this up to see this wire, else that would have worn through and shorted down, and then this just wouldn't have worked anymore. It is IP66 rated. It does have this little gasket around the edge here, and it does have all stainless hardware on it, so I don't think you'll get really any corrosion issues. Little like O-ring goes around the top of the motor. The case for the motor is pretty beefy. Doesn't seem too bad. For the top of the shaft, all that seals it in is, what is this? This is a nylon. I think the white part's nylon, and then Delrin maybe? I don't know. Some plastic that's just a tight fit over the main rod that goes in and out to keep dust out. I don't know how well that'll really seal over time. I think it'll start to get eaten up and wear away, and dust and water will get in it. I would have liked to see an O-ring in here. I may try and make an additional cover over the top of this. I'll show where it goes on. It just slides onto that top shaft there. So I may try and make an additional cover just to help protect this and make sure that over time it doesn't get crap in it. Overall, pretty good for 150 bucks and what it's rated for. I'd recommend it. I've overloaded this a couple times. I'm building a pop top, and I have linear actuators to lift it up, and I've accidentally turned the actuators on with the clamps for the roof holding it down, and I've loaded the actuators up until they won't go anymore, and I haven't broken anything. Like I said, at full extension they do seem really flimsy and axial loading. As you can see with my setup there, it's not a perfect linear loading, so they're not as strong, and that's where I'm trying to just lower it down to make it a little bit more rigid.